Hello everyone, and welcome back to my sunroom here in East Tennessee on this beautiful autumn day. Today we're going to be talking about specific care for your Thanksgiving cacti for this time of the year. It's the very end of October and Big Red and Snow White are getting ready to bloom and buds are developing and they will be in full bloom soon. I get lots of questions about Thanksgiving cactus care during the month of November. And so today I'll be answering some of those questions and just go over some reminders. We're going to be going over light, watering, and some reasons why yours might not be budding yet. My cacti are potted in the Glacier Gold potting mix from the Orchid Supply Store, my sponsor. I use the entire bag of Glacier Gold potting mix on Big Red and also Snow White. But I also placed some small Orchiata bark in Big Red's pot. So just keep in mind in the spring when you go to repot, those are really excellent media you all to use with your Thanksgiving cacti. And I like to place my Thanksgiving cacti in orchid pots that have the really good drainage holes on the bottom. And it's also really easy for you to see when to water your Thanksgiving cactus so that you don't actually over or underwater it. And these are also available at the Orchid Supply Store. And I'll place a link below in the description box to the Orchid Supply Store's website. And be sure to use my coupon code AMY for a 12% viewer's discount. So let's talk about light. That's the first thing to consider to get your Thanksgiving cactus to bloom. Let's say you've been watering and draining your cactus correctly, fertilizing it, and it just won't bloom. Probably insufficient light is the problem. That's actually the #1 reason that any plant doesn't bloom, not just cacti. But these cacti require an eastern facing exposure like Snow White here. These windows here get morning sunlight. Mine get lots of bright dispersed light all year long. Also, if you have a western facing window that gets the late afternoon sun, that would also be a really good place to place your cacti. This summer, I moved Snow White here in front of these glass doors, and she gets plenty of light, as you can see, and she is full of buds right now. In previous years, she was in a place where there was lower light, and she just didn't bloom well. She's never produced this many buds in the past. The foliage was healthy, but she just didn't bloom much. She would have a few blooms, and those blooms didn't last for very long. And she also didn't rebloom like Big Red did in February. Light makes all the difference with these cacti. Another thing that you can do is you can add supplemental light with LED lights like I did for Big Red. I knew it would not be light enough back here in the darker part of my sunroom for him to actually bloom. If I had placed him back here without LED lights, what would have happened was the foliage would have stayed nice and green, but he would not have bloomed. Another thing that can affect blooming is if the soil is depleted of nutrients and it's old, they won't bloom as well. So let's say you haven't repotted yours in a while, like 3 or 4 or 5 years, and it's getting plenty of light, but it's not blooming. It means the soil is probably old. I fertilize mine throughout the growing season, which is spring to early fall. They need lots of nutrients to bloom. But during their rest period in October and while they're budding and blooming, I don't use any fertilizer. When they start growing again in the spring, I resume fertilizing. I've also found that if you fertilize while they're blooming, the blooms don't last as long. Another thing to consider is that these cacti bud and bloom the month after they've had a consistent 12-hour period of darkness for 1 month. So if you live closer to the equator, yours may not even bloom until February or March, until your day lengths start getting much shorter. I've heard from several people who live in the deep southern part of the United States, and they thought theirs wouldn't bloom that year. And then in March, it blooms. The change in light happens automatically here in East Tennessee in September. And so mine always bloom in time for the holidays. And there's some things to remember when your plant is budding. Don't move the cactus once you see the buds forming. Leave them exactly where they are, or the buds will probably fall off. You can turn the cactus in place carefully to showcase the blooms a certain way, but I turn them slowly so that I don't disturb the buds. And also, if you buy a new cactus and it's budding, just know that most of the buds will fall off, and that's totally normal. That's what happened to me when I bought these plants. The buds are very fragile, and if you move the plant's location, the buds probably won't last. But with proper care, they will rebloom for you the next year. And November is also the time to resume your regular watering schedule. Keep in mind that while it's blooming and budding, not to move the cactus around very much. When I water, I'll leave the cactus where it is. I have a wicking rope, as you see, in Big Red's dish. And what that does is when I water it just enough until the water starts coming out the bottom. And then that wicking rope will wick it away from the container, from the dish, down into the glass bowl so that it never sets in water. This is the easiest setup, especially for a huge plant like this, that I have found. So now let's talk about what to do if you leave yours setting in water accidentally and you are sending an SOS call. You forgot to drain it, it's been setting in water, and now it's just a soggy mess. My sister accidentally did this some years ago, and she called me really upset. So I told her, drain the water immediately and take cuttings of whatever isn't soggy. You can start a new plant that way. Usually the whole thing isn't ruined, just parts of it. So that's what she did. She started a new plant. She also took the mother plant and placed it in fresh soil. And interestingly, with good care over the next year, that mother plant that was damaged rejuvenated. I hope all these tips help you all. I love sharing Thanksgiving cactus videos, and I love hearing all your success stories. Thanks to all of you who keep me posted on the progress and the success of your Thanksgiving cacti. And please let me know if yours are budding or blooming now. And I'm curious, what colors of cacti do you all grow? I know that Sharon in Arizona grows every color that is available, and Tammy in Alabama has a pink one that's already blooming. They're so beautiful this time of the year, and they are a lot of fun to grow. And before I end this video, I would love to say the blessing over you and your families and your plants. The Lord bless you and keep you. Make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn His face toward you and give you His peace. You all make it a great day, and we'll talk to you next time.